kind of based on when I prevent harm or consequence, and I personally think that it meant something big enough on the character side.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Okay. That is a good question.
There is no pressure, so if it doesn't feel like the right moment, then it's not the right moment, and that's fine.
Yeah, no, I'm thinking on that because part of it was of big of a moment that was to Sierra in the sense of like maintain that impossible promise kind of thing that they're going for. So makes me think of it. I have to think really quick here on that because I'm thinking. I'm still more trying to figure. I've still been trying to wrap my mind around what's to come because today's session's gonna be. I can only imagine the fallout.
Right? It's like I was thinking about that too. I was like, I wonder if obligation's gonna look a little different after this.
Yeah, I um, I can already say that at least two-thirds of this group, if not the entire group, is not going to have a very good time. I feel like in the next obligation.
I mean, all things considered, we put the last it's like session to perspective. Sarah basically went it's like with helping it's like Adele, defied Regalia, basically as far as orders go, and also I guess now physically as well. And it's like along with also it's like basically putting herself into jeopardy. It's like through that predicament alongside throwing herself in it's like front of Violet to protect her. So I don't it's like I guess putting all that into perspective might also help. It's like uh with your it's like with figuring out whether or not it's like how Sarah's feeling regarding the Hero's Destiny thing.
Yeah, I think you're kind of bring up a very good point. And it's like it's a very. I feel like it has a lot that was kind of culminating in that moment. So that's why I'm like, yeah, feels feels definitely like it's a decent possibility that that would actually be a pretty good moment in the character to actually realize it, especially given the fact that also the talk with Vega about found family and everything like that. So I feel like honestly, yeah, I would actually say honestly, in my opinion, this probably would be constituting like where they would actually probably ditch the Only Immortals tag and everything.
Or that, or like feeling close to it, possibly, or something.
Yeah, it's honestly though, I feel like if anything, it's either close to and like whatever happens whatever may happen in this mission, maybe the final tipping point, or that was it. It's so hard to choose because I feel like that was a pretty. It's actually a pretty good point though. Like thinking about everything that kind of went into with the Impossible Promise, the talk with Vega, the defying their mother. Just I feel like there's just a lot that kind of happened all at once there. That it definitely would be. Actually, it sounds like it actually could be a pretty good time for it because it does feel like it has a pretty important kind of moment for the character. Oh, decisions. Let's see here. Actually, yeah. You know what, Danny? I would say I think it's a good way to kind of constitute the thing. I think I'll go with starting off with that as from that action.
Okay, cool. Hi, David.
Hello, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
Doing good, doing good.
Figure we'll give Will a few minutes.
Sure.
Yeah, I gotta love time change probably messing with people in general.
Hello.
Hello.
Oh, sorry for keeping folks waiting.
All right. Does anybody have any top of the hour business or anything?
Just checking. David, do you remember if you took 4 XP or 5 last session?
Short answer is no, I don't remember. Let me see.
I guess maybe a more targeted question is, did you take a point? Did you take a point for oh God, where was it? Struggled with issues from your promises or obligation.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm almost sure I did.
Cool. Okay. I guess I have to decide. I have to decide before I get XP again whether my points are going in sun or stars, and I haven't quite figured that out. But that's not a that's not a handle immediately issue.
Sure.
All right. When last we left off, we were in the middle of total chaos. We are in a weird place, somewhere in a sector of the city that is run by a bunch of smaller noble houses working in tandem, sort of, and lots of activity for sort of rebellious factions. And as part of the architecture here, there is a lot of green spaces, including large overgrown, or I guess just large and tall gardens. In the middle of one such garden is the manor house of House Phosphorus, where 2 of our magical girls found their way through into a little meeting. Meanwhile, on the other side, having wandered their way through Rose's magical mirror, meandered into the Baroness's court. And in short order, everything went to shit. Alhenna broke down the door in the mansion, threw a spear, chucked a spear, went through the magical mirror in the courtyard just as it was opening, speared the Baroness. Violet quickly transformed into Vega and bum rushed the Baroness and pinned her up against a tree. Frida had previously transformed into Bellatrix and took on the disguise of one of the Baroness's warrior-ish dryads. And when things went to chaos, Bellatrix entangled herself with the other dryads to keep them, presumably, out of whatever fight was going to ensue. Sarah went and tackled Regalia and then rushed through the mirror and knocked Vega out of the way before the Baroness's thorn whip could get a hold of her. So we have the Baroness pinned to a tree inside the mirror realm, is what we've been calling it, along with Bellatrix, 2 dryads, Vega, and Sarah. And then in the courtyard, we have Regalia riding herself up out of having been tripped into a bunch of potted plants as well as a shadowy figure who has revealed themselves to be Albrecht, and Oda, who appears to just be having another Tuesday. Does anybody have any questions on where we're at the moment? Because there was a lot. Okay.
The implement that speared the Baroness, was that a spear, or was that Elhenna's spadroon?
It was
I
that.
would say, yeah, her weapon kind of, so like, I would say that Ahana's weapon basically kind of like, it's one of the few ways they kind of express themselves, so it kind of changes depending on what they're, it's like on, partially based on their, it's like emotion at the time, as well as basically kind of what they need. And a lot of the times it usually takes the form of some bladed weapon, although in this case, given the urgency that they felt at the time and everything, just proceed to hurl their weapon, and then it's like stuck into the Baroness as a spear, I imagine.
Cool. It's like, oh, needs to be aerodynamic immediately.
I think Regalia knocks away a bunch of pots and stands up rather elegantly, and she is a disheveled mess, but a disheveled mess in the way that Regalia looks like a disheveled mess, which is to say, it looks like it was done on purpose, and she is beautiful, and sparkles are in the air around her. And she says, she turns to Oda as she's walking with fervor through the mirror. You know what must be done if they are to be saved. And as she's making her way through the mirror, she says, Albrecht, join me. Our mistress is in trouble. And she heads into the mirror realm. And Albrecht kind of looks at Oda and then looks at Regalia and then follows Regalia through the mirror. I think as Regalia enters, she looks around and she finds her eyes on Sarah and says, I knew you had potential. Maybe we'll start there.
Oh. And out of curiosity here, with them kind of coming in here, so they weren't able to see kind of inside this mirror as clearly, I'm assuming, as they are once they come in, or
I think there's
how clear was
probably
it all?
some view that's blocked, just from the angles, but I think they probably captured most of the action being as close as they were.
Okay. Hmm. And the Baroness is still at the current moment kind of pinned.
Yes, the Baroness is pinned. I think Vega and Sarah, since you're right there near the Baroness, I think you can see she has been, after Vega's action, pinned up against this large, overgrown, gnarled, dark-looking tree. And as she's kind of wrenching herself along the weapon to kind of eventually, in theory, pull herself off of it, you can see where the weapon has been lodged into the tree. The tree is like fractured, like broken, jagged mirror.
Okay. Given our earlier talk, I'd say this could be a moment where I would say Sarah after kind of, I guess, shoving aside Vega from potentially getting quote unquote vine whipped, I guess, in this way. There's a I would say she doesn't necessarily realize that she's kind of turning towards Regalia in a means of kind of to address what Regalia is saying, and it's a kind of in an emotional kind of outburst in a way, as she's kind of she doesn't realize it kind of thing, but she's kind of somewhat kind of glowing a little bit with this kind of bit of energy kind of coming about her, and she's like, as she kind of yells, it's like at her, it's like, the potential I have and everything that you see in me is because of my of those that matter to me. And what you're doing here is putting everybody, including yourself, as much as I don't understand why you're doing this, in danger. And I can no longer allow you to just do this to everybody I care about. That includes you. And at this, she she kind of, without realizing it at first, kind of burst has the energy kind of burst forth from her, as she kind of just without out of like sheer surprise watches as her baton kind of like suddenly kind of just changes from like this metallic simple like baton into what is this kind of star and kind of celestial kind of staff that kind of starts that spins around in front of her, and as she in sheer confusion, she grabs almost instinctively, and suddenly her entire uniform kind of just bursts into this kind of colorful like light of pink, pink and white and kind of these little sparkles around them, as before becoming into this kind of frilly and kind of matching kind of energetic, almost cheerleader like outfit, and a bunch of little cards, 3 of them in fact, kind of circling around her. One that she kind of picks up immediately into her hand, and it takes on the shape of a form of a shield, as it represents right now her most keen thing, which is protecting her friend who is a guardian.
Very cool.
So, Vega, you see Sarah become Polaris, and the Baroness inch her way along the weapon, getting close to freeing herself. What do you do?
Uh, I almost want to like Sarah becoming Polaris. That is a pivotal, like, explosive, shocking, dramatic moment, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Is that can okay? I mean, I'm almost inclined to be so stunned by this that I lose my focus and give the Baroness an opening to do something bad. Or something good. I don't know what she's up to. But basically I give the Baroness an opening. I don't know if I would have to roll to do that necessarily.
No, that's fine. Yeah, I don't think you have to roll to do nothing.
I mean, I think there's just a moment of me just glancing over with a blank, stunned expression, and probably the sheer brilliance of what I'm seeing has my hair kind of like floating backwards like a fan has been put on me or something like that. Um, and then I guess. I don't really know how fortunate the dark words, but if this was PBTA, I would be saying, okay, Danny, you've got a move you can do here if you want to take it.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think the Baroness, kind of eventually gets to the end and then slumps off and catches herself on the ground, and then rights herself up, and her vine whip is like snaking around in the air around her. And she takes a few steps towards Vega and says, "You surprised me. I didn't expect you. You came out of nowhere. Not many do that." And I think she kind of circles around behind you, so that on one side there is Regalia and Polaris, and then Vega, and then the Baroness. And she says, "Come, face me. I won't launch a surprise attack on you. You've earned that much." And then I think the vine whip snakes around closer and closer to Vega, and then we'll jump from there to leave that for a moment. Bellatrix, you are entangled in 2 dryads.
I am. So there's the flash of light and the magical transformation of Sarah embracing her potential, and Dryad Bellatrix just drinks that in, and her eyes close in exultant smugness or smug exultation. I'm going to spend one of my links on Sarah to clear 2 of her stress, or on Polaris to clear 2 of their stress. Narratively speaking, so I have engaged these dryads while transcendent, which means that either I defeat them, they defeat me, or Alhana shows up to take over for me. I think what I am trying to do, I think narratively, I don't think it's time for me to defeat the dryads, but what Bellatrix is trying to do is basically either zone them out of the conflict. Like right now, they're tangled up in the middle of the arena. One is to either zone them out of the conflict completely, or to disperse them into the general energy of the general energy of the of this space. Like eventually she needs to get free, but I think right now she's just trying to keep them out of the fight and keep herself safe.
Yeah, that sounds to me like an excellent opportunity to start a 4 clock for dryads and to work on that, it sounds like.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay.
So I will. I feel like this is still Defy. One could make the. Yeah, I feel like I'm basically trying to. I'm basically trying to exert my will. Exert the portion of my will that I've sort of mingled with this space on top of them, and sort of assert authority and assert authority and abjure them from the space.
Oh, okay.
Like you are not. This is not the place for you. So, yeah. 1 die for Defy. I will push myself for 2 stress for a 2nd die. I don't know. It sounds like everybody else is sort of occupied with their own thing, so I'm willing to roll with 2.
Okay. I think this is risky standard.
Okay.
They're entangled with you, and you are entangled with them.
That is a 5.
All right. So with a 5, I think that is 2 ticks on the clock, or standard, sorry, standard effect. Yeah, 2 segments. Excellent. So I think what happens is, as you begin to force your will upon them to push them out of this space metaphysically, their vines begin to wrap and to like tighten and choke around you. And so I think what this looks like is their resistance, and it's going to put you in a desperate position.
That sounds delightful.
I think Bellatrix can feel like just the tips of the thorns as they begin to like grow and become even more wicked and blade-like, just coming in for some blender action, I suppose.
I imagine the dryads have their own opinions about whether or not they belong here.
Yeah. So on the other side of the mirror, I think Oda finally turns to face Elhenna. And she backs up towards the mirror and she says, Adele, you should not be here.
Hannah kind of just, it's like sort of, it's like pretty much unsure how to, it's like address this given this very awkward situation right now of, it's like, at least it's like Oda confirming, it's like, okay, she certainly, it's like knows who I am. It's like, and it's like given this very, it's like given this situation of basically having her between it's like themselves and the mirror and everybody else. It's like kind of just it's like they take a moment, kind of just let out the deepest it's like breath. It's like takes a step forward and just it's like before asking, it's like why is that? It's like what are you trying to it's like why are you here? It's like and what are you trying to accomplish?
This is the only way I could protect you. And she starts to move her hand over the mirror. You can see like the ornate carvings along it begin to magically activate as she tries to start closing it.
And it's like at that, Alhena just immediately reacts and starts stashing it's like towards the mirror again.
Yeah, so what is it? What is Alhena's goal here?
I want to say it's like they're trying to basically it's like slip past it's like through it's like and through the mirror to it's like join the rest basically. So I suppose this is basically sort of it's like a flow or a defy action.
Okay.
And let's see.
How closely is Elhenna paying attention to Oda during this?
I would say it's like basically Oda's like the only it's like one they can really it's like pay attention to right now, given that it's like otherwise their target is basically a still mirror. It's like and given that it's like and they know Oda well enough to know that it's like basically it's not very easy to defy her in the first place.
All right. I think
And
then it's risky position, limited effect. I think on a success, you'll be able to make it to the mirror. But then you'll have to probably deal more directly with Oda.
I know this is a thing in original Blades. I don't remember this is a thing in Girl by Moonlight. Would it be possible to it's like trade into a desperate position for a greater effect?
Yes, I think so.
Okay,
So,
in that case, yeah, I think I'll trade position for effect, and I'd like to push myself on top of
okay, yeah. So we're at desperate standard, so you'll be able to make it through. And we'll see what Oda has in store, I suppose, if you get a consequence. And so you're pushing yourself for an additional die, is that right?
that. Yes.
Okay. So we're looking at 2 dice at the moment. Okay, there are some links on the table just so people are aware.
Okay, that's a 4 on it's like with those two.
Sorry.
Oh, you want to do something?
I was gonna use a link.
No, that's fine. I already rolled. It's like, let's see.
Okay. So a 4. So you're going to make it through. Why don't you give me some fiction on what that looks like, and then I'll tell you what Oda does.
Let's see. I imagine Alhena basically sort of is like it's like starts stashing towards a mirror and it's like, let's see. Oda sparred with them, it's like before in the past and everything, and they kind of recall essentially like it's like what her it's like movements tend to be like when it came to basically it's like teach her the basics of it's like swordsmanship at the time when they were young. Um, well, younger, I guess. It's like, and I imagine Alhena is like kind of recalls that it's like they are, it's like slower. It's like they are, it's like a little slower to react. It's like, or Oda is a little slower to react. It's like towards her, it's like left side. And so it's like basically tries to it's like take advantage of that. It's like slip through. And it's like prepares to it's like but in the meanwhile also prepares to basically sort of it's like try to it's like parry. It's like depending on how Oda reacts.
Okay, yeah. So I think that Alhena's, Alhena, like you said, Alhena or Adele has sparred with Oda countless times, and Oda goes out to like strike, but Alhena moves past deftly and through the mirror and into the courtyard beyond. And so Oda sort of like with a fate, a date with destiny, steps through the mirror and says, "No, Adele, I can't let you do this." And she begins to like lift off the ground, and her like robes or whatever she's wearing begin to flutter. And there's a moment where she like clutches something against her chest and light begins to pour out of her, not entirely dissimilar from how our magical girls transform. But then it inverts, and all the a bunch of like just darkness and shadow seeps out of here in the courtyard and enters into Oda. And what was going to become resplendent magical girl Oda instead becomes dark and shadow like.
It's like I don't. It's like Alhena kind of it's like watches this in the meanwhile. Also, sort of how far is the Baroness from? It's like from them actually.
On the other side of the courtyard.
Okay, it's like Alhena just it's like sort of like upon witnessing all of this, and it's like just it's like sort of it's like not quite able to take stock of the rest of the situation now that they finally join on the other side of the mirror. It's like just sort of it's like just sort of mutters under their it's like breath. I'm very good at adding it's like problems or situations today, aren't I?
From I'm presuming we all witness this because it's happening on this side of the mirror.
Yeah, yeah.
Does it look like what does it look like Bellatrix's shenanigans where she's sort of like taking the dark energy for her own purposes, or does it look like she's switching teams?
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think Bellatrix, if everybody would probably know what's going on here 100%. It looks like she was going to magically transform into, full of starlight and expression. Clearly, there Oda has some kind of past. And instead, something twists all of a sudden, like almost like snapping. And it just, the whole thing inverts. And instead, it's, I guess you could describe that as in switching sides.
Okay, so she's been like subverted, or did she choose this willingly? Does it look like this was her plan?
Yes. So Oda steps in, and I'm trying to remember what I said that Oda had said. I can't let you do this, and begins to magically transform. And then I think there's a gasp, and then it inverts. And so I think the indication here is that she has done this willingly, even if she didn't want to, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah. Like she's
so like feeling
forced.
like she has to, not
Yes.
necessarily that she wants to.
Yes. This is a consequence, so you are able to resist it if you can think of how that might look, or we can play it out and see where this goes.
Yeah, I think it's like I don't think it does. It's like Alhena is quite in the mind to it's like resist that, so I think I'll see how it goes.
Okay. Off to the one side of the courtyard, we have Regalia sort of squaring off against Polaris, and behind Polaris, Vega and the Baroness. And the Baroness's whip lashes through the air and goes to coil itself around Vega. What does Vega do?
I am going to extend one hand outward at my side, and my spear will materialize into my hand. Um, and then, uh, do I recognize Polaris as Saria?
I
I
think
mean,
so.
you saw her transform.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, fabulous. So then I will, just to make things interesting, I'll shout over my shoulder, Sarah, you idiot, get out of here. And I will do there's a specific attack from Revolutionary Girl Uten I'm thinking of, but I'm basically going to charge forward with my spear directly at the Baroness.
Awesome. Okay. This sounds like Defy, probably.
Well, yeah. Is that kind of the catch-all for yeah, you might unleash your mightiest attack against a dangerous foe. Okay, yeah, that would be Defy.
Okay. Yeah, so I think this is, the Baroness has wanted to square off fairly against Vega, so I think this is just risky standard.
Okay. So it's one die for just my one in Defy. And I check one of my Transcendence ticks too.
That's correct.
Okay. I could push myself here. I can't spend links on myself, only other people can spend them on me, right?
No, you can use mine on anybody, including yourself.
Oh, because of
My
the
links
move
are
you have.
unlimited. Yep.
So I can spend your links that you have on your sheet, or I can spend the ones that I have with you.
The ones that you have with me. So those 4 that you have, you can use on yourself, technically.
Okay, I'll spend one of them to get me a third die, and I'm okay with keeping it at that. So let's roll 3.
Okay.
6.
Nice. So that's 2 more ticks. Oh, okay, yeah. So you, by all means, describe. You're taking out the Baroness with this.
Oh, okay. So I could totally subdue her if I so chose.
Yeah.
Okay, sweet. In that case, I think that she will maybe lash one of her vines forward in an effort to kind of wrap it around my ankle. I definitely leap very, very high over her, point my spear directly down at her, and do this sudden kind of crash into her, probably while calling out the name of the attack as I do so. And it's a blunt, edgeless spear. So when the flare effect kind of fades, it's got me sort of standing kind of one foot on the ground, the other on her chest, the spear kind of leveled at her throat, but she's not, bleeding or hurt in a grotesque kind of fashion at all. She's just kind of subdued, if that works.
Yeah, absolutely. I think her vine whips like just kind of like flop around like tentacles almost, just kind of sort of thrashing, but like almost like they've lost their gusto. I like it. Rogalia and Polaris are facing off against each other. What does Polaris do?
Well, I guess the first thing is, based on me just like pretty much putting out there my feelings on this matter, how's Regalia actually responding to all of that? I mean, one, I just stayed pretty much that, like, I'm defying you, but also I care about you. You're my family kind of thing. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So Regalia takes a step forward and shadows begin to collect around her. And she says, I've seen a glimmer of potential in you this whole time. I'm here to protect you too. She says, I'm impressed at what you are, but that can only achieve so much. You don't understand how powerful they are, all the things that they can do. And then I think she turns and she gestures towards Oda, and then she looks back at Polaris and says, you can't save them. You can't save any of them.
and at this, Polaris pretty much is like, I, you're right. I don't know what's going on here. Clearly, you know a lot more about this than I even thought, but not telling me, not just keep me at arm's length on this kind of thing. It doesn't tell me like what I can or cannot do. All I see right now is that you are putting yourself in a bad spot, and along with that, everybody else I care about it in just as worse a spot. And I can't just watch sit on the sidelines and watch as you and everybody else kind of put themselves in harm's way. It's I don't understand why you're doing this, and I want to, but I don't understand.
She says, you're right. You don't understand, Sarah. I'm not in a bad spot. I'm in a safe spot, safe from all of the oppression out there, all of the things that they would make us do, that we can't be who we are. When all of that's gone and there's just the emptiness, I'm all that remains. You'll know this too soon. And I think like this dark, shadowy dress forms on her. And I think her weapon of choice is like a long pointed dagger. I think she points it at Polaris.
And Polaris kind of like kind of hangs her head a little bit, kind of in a sense of like a little bit of self dread about what's about to happen, and that kind of and just like a single tear kind of going from her down her cheek and then falling to the ground before before she kind of resolutely kind of like looks at Regalia and takes this card that kind of showed up in front of her and reflexively pushes her staff against it, changing it into a spear that is very similar-esque to what Vega's looks like, but with a little flair of Sarah's kind of color palette and everything. And at that, she's like, I don't understand you right now, but I do want to understand. If that means I have to fight you to understand further, then so be it. And she is going to basically come charging in at Regalia with this spear.
Okay.
She's going to have a little sparring match here.
All right. I think. Okay, we'll just let's go ahead and make that actional now. Sure. What action are you going to roll here?
So the way that she's kind of fighting here is she is trying to empathize. She's trying to, and she's also a lot of her attack here is kind of the more on the expressing her empathy towards trying to understand. her Regalia, as well as the fact that she is confessing that she doesn't understand and she wants to understand. It's a more of an emotional kind of thing that she's doing more than an outright trying to fight per se.
Yep. Okay. I like it. I think right now, based on how this is playing out, this is a risky position with great effect.
Okay. Let's see here. And so right now I have only one die, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. I can push myself. Let's see here. I'll push myself for a potential poison promise. And I know that we have especially with everything that's been happening story-wise, Maria is definitely a potential unfortunate circumstance here on the table.
Yep. I think what this poison promise looks like, if you accept it, is that Regalia says, the more you fight me, the more you defy me, the more the more I move Marie further and further away from you. You won't be able to reach her. You won't be able to find her.
Yeah, no, I like that a lot. My character, not so much, but that's a different story entirely.
Cool.
All right, so 2 dice. Okay, and oof, ouch.
Okay.
4. Yeah.
All right. So I think what this looks like is Regalia catches the spear, and there's this moment, right, where the two of you are there close together, like locked eyes, and you're reaching out with empathy, trying not to fight, and Regalia is frustratedly trying to get you to do something, and through this of you trying to reach out and connect with her and see things from her perspective, she try to like drives the spear off and then backs up, and she says, it's too late for me. And she throws her dagger at one of the other mirrors here in the courtyard, and it shatters and breaks and opens up into like just this dark abyssal vacuum, and she goes to leap into it. So I think what this looks like is you succeed in overcoming Regalia here in this moment and driving your point to her, and so she is leaving. But I think as part of this is some kind of probably like harm in the sense of emotion of being unable to reach out and help her now.
Yeah, no, that definitely is something that would hit her and everything, as especially it's that really unresolved kind of painful departure here. And a lot to left racking her mind on this in general. So yeah. Let's see here. Now the question is what would the harm be and how many it.
It was at desperate, but I'm kind of giving multiple consequences here. So I think this is level 2 harm. Something along the lines of feeling powerless.
Okay.
Did you want to resist either of those consequences or let them be?
Let's see here. I think I'll at least see how she does as far. I think she's going to at least try to resist the sense of being powerless a little bit, especially because she feels like she's even more determined on this matter. So we'll try and resist that at least.
Okay.
Let's see. I forget. With resisting, that's just a straight 1d6.
Yeah, I think this sounds like Despair and Heartbreak, which is Moon.
Okay. Which is the one thing I actually am good at. Okay, so 1d6 here.
2d6.
Oh,
Because
2d6.
you
Okay.
have 2 of them. Yep.
Oh, right. There we go.
Nice.
Oh, hey, a 6. Woo.
0 stress. And you resist that harm, so you don't need to mark it.
Okay.
Bellatrix.
Oh boy. Bellatrix feels like her store of energy, her ability to maintain this sort of grip on the shadows is weakening. Her father is very clearly in the space. Things are getting kind of wild. I think she doesn't back down. It would be awfully tempting to try and roll a conceal here and try and like yank myself and the dryads out of the space so that I don't have to face my father. But then I'd be abandoning Vega. I'd be abandoning Polaris. I'd be abandoning Alhena. So I think I'm going to have to roll Defy again, and just with the what am I trying to do with these dryads here? I'm wrestling with them, they're wrestling with me. I'm trying to abjure them from the space. I think as I feel my connection to the shadows slipping, my control over it, I try and just invert the hold that I have and just shove it all away from me, and in the process sort of either discorporate or blow the dryads away. So like there's sort of this cleansing effect that expands past me. I'm expelling the shell that I've been holding on to, and I'm expelling it with force so that I just sort of create a space of stability where I'm standing.
Okay.
Which I think is probably a Defy. I'm going to be Weasley, and I'm going to check my last link with Sarah to give myself a die. Which is I think a use of her believe in me power. Is that I still think we can take this situation. As a player, I think this is getting out of hand. As a character, we have Polaris in the fight. We're all on a strong footing. We can handle anything that the shadow sends at us.
So the position's desperate from the consequence last time.
Okay.
And
yeah.
Standard effect.
Standard effect. Do I want to push myself? Does anyone have a good poison promise?
Well, I mean, part of the thing is, well, we understand how Ian's been thrown into this, how your dad's here, seeing you defying him, and we obviously know that they're not done with Ian. So I wouldn't say Ian is still just as much of a potential card on the table here, that similar to how Maria's was in the similar things. So I feel like there's a potential there where for some unfortunate thing coming from this for Ian.
I think we've that's a solid answer. Oh, sorry, go on.
Oh yeah. Or the other thing could be, I mean, we still don't know what exactly the severity yet of how things are going to be with father knowing all of this right now, but there could be also another consequence in regards to that for a promise too. You have a lot of things on the table with your family, actually.
I don't know what you've established regarding Albrecht's complicity in this.
Mm-hmm.
is there any way that we can power up Albrecht with the poison promise? Give him access to resources or a stronger position in the abyssal space?
Yes, we can do that. 100%.
Okay. Then I am rolling 3 dice defy desperate standard.
Whew.
6.
Yeah, why don't you describe how you abjure these dryads?
I think we see like the thorns coming close to Bellatrix's face, and she closes her eyes, and then with this roar of defiance, she shoves back out at the 2 dryads, and there's this this burst of wind, and it's like someone ran a wipe filter across the space, like when you have those purification scenes where the wind races across a space and the twisted land turns green in sort of a screen wipe effect.
Yeah.
I think there's this circle of grass and orderly looking flowers that are at Bellatrix's are at Frida's feet, and the dryads are not they're not erased, but you get the sense that they are diminished as they are wiped out of the space. Like maybe they lose large portions of their limbs, and branches go flying everywhere, and sort of you can still see their cores retreating into the retreating out of the cleansed space, but they've been severely curtailed. And then standing almost defenseless but defiant in the center of this space is Frida, and she's just staring at her father. That was a desperate action.
It was, yes.
Are there? I assume there are no consequences on a 6.
No, there's no consequences on a 6.
Okay.
I think I'm going to hold on to that poison promise for a moment, though.
Understood.
All right. So, Adele, Oda has embraced the shadow. What is it you're doing?
Let's see. It's like Adele, it's like, well, Ahena kind of, it's like straighten themselves. It's like take a step back. It's like already doesn't like to fight. It's like Oda in mundane situations. Especially doesn't want to fight Oda suddenly in magical circumstances. It's like kind of just takes a moment to register. It's like Oda's transformation. It's like before it's like asking, it's like, how do you think this is going to protect us from anything?
Because when it all comes down, I've bargained for your safety by giving myself up. And it will come down. They've aligned everything. It's just a matter of watching the pieces fall.
I did always wish you would be more opaque about your messages. It's like takes another takes another deep breath. it's like contemplates it's like what to do in this situation before it's like ask again it's like what it's like and what do you want it's like me to do it's like I mean it sounds like you want me to it's like give up it's like give up it's like return to being it's like go back to it's like listening to you as I always have it's like being it's like the good little it's like noble arrows it's like supposed to be is that what it comes down to?
Um, she says, and she like it, you can tell like she's fighting against something, probably some new pressure that she's feeling. She's like pushing past it. She says, I want you to do what you have always done, what I have always taught you to do, to put on the mask and to hide your emotions, to hide yourself so that you can strike when they're weakest.
It's like takes it's like this time it's like takes a step forward. It's like seems it's like looks as though they want to it's like say something but is trying to consider it's like their words. It's like carefully. It's like takes another step forward. And it's like sort of it's like gradually it's like closes the distance between it's like them both. It's like until it's like they're standing in front of Oda. And then it's like just it's like before they can say. I guess I haven't been it's like playing the part that you've it's like wanted to very well. It's like if you it's like felt like you had to resort to this. It's like how did you find out about me anyway?
I felt it through the stars. I didn't know it before, but I suspected, and then it happened. And then I knew. And that time had run out.
And it's like, are you going to try to it's like stop me if I say it's like if I were to say I have to keep going, it's like regardless.
I think she begins to respond, and then like her voice just kind of echoes out and is quiet, like she can't speak anymore, like whatever this pressure that she was resisting has asserted itself. And I think what happens next is that Albrecht says enough, and the shadows close in on him, and the other remaining mirrors all shatter outward, and then it looks like just a bunch of hands manifested, hands and arms manifested from shadow and shards of mirror and glass, like reach out and elongate and start to grasp, probably pulling one of the dryads as they're fleeing into it, and they grab hold of Albrecht and they grab hold of Oda, and they pull them into the same space that Regalia had fled through.
Alhena just immediately reaches on, tries to it's like grab Oda.
Okay, yeah, let's make an action roll for that.
Let's see. I guess I kind of just empathized, but it's like the exact action. I think it's like I'm not quite sure what to put it.
Oh yeah, no, I think you might touch a horrifying monster and feel the frightened heart that beats within it. Sounds appropriate.
I would like to assist on their action if possible.
What does that?
Yeah.
What I was thinking is more or less, my character picking up their spear that got tossed aside and throwing it at the thing that's grabbing Oda to give Alhana an opening to kind of hopefully reach Oda in some shape or form and kind of prolong things.
Does that work for you, Fumi?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, 2 dice is probably it's like enough. I'm not sure if it's like any sort of poison promise really fits with this.
You said you're asking for a poison promise?
Yeah, I suppose if it's like anyone can it's like come up with anything, otherwise I can just roll.
What Oda did is not easily reversible. She can be rescued from the darkness, but she made a decision here that is going to have lasting consequences for her.
Yeah, I can definitely see that.
That's
See.
good.
All right then, so I guess that'd be 3 dice and then
I think
nope,
this
they're all
is...
threes.
Oh, okay. Well, there we go.
Oh, there are the consequences right there.
Yep. There's a moment where like your fingertips touch and like almost gonna grab and then whoosh. And so then as these arms pull back and take Albrecht and Oda with them, the mirrors kind of all the broken glass shards go and the mirrors close up once they've escaped into the space beyond. 10-minute break. All right. Okay. I think there is a moment of quiet, and then the camera pans over past everybody and goes over to Vega standing above, spear pointed down at the subdued Baroness.
I ask her, what do you want with Rose?
She says she was to join us, to join my court. She had made it so far. I wanted to protect her, to shield her as I have the others.
Protect her from what?
From everything out there, everything you have to deal with. It's too much. It's unfair. I can make it all go away.
By doing what? Turning her into one of your plant things?
By showing her the wholeness in emptiness. She can be preserved and beautiful forever. Don't you want that for her?
Um, okay, so what's gonna happen is I think that there's a shot of me from like the waist up, and I take my spear, and there's this moment where I just like slam it downward, and the audience might think for a minute that I've just like stabbed her right through the face. But then it cuts away, and I've implanted the spear sort of to the side of her head. Um, and I dramatically kind of step off of her and still holding onto this spear planted in the ground, turn away from her, and I start monologuing with my back to her. And I say something to the effect of, people like you make me sick. You're the reason nothing is working out there, like you say. Don't you get it? You don't make the world a better place by running, by taking shelter in some mirror space. The way that you save the world is by fighting for it. And all you've done is run and taken a bunch of people I care about with you. And I turn and I will say to her, now I'm facing, looking down at her, I say, I will never support you, and I will fight to the death to protect my sister Rose. But I am willing to fight alongside you if only you will help me to make this world a better place. And I extend my hands to her as if to help her up. And I ask her, will you fight or will you run?
Man, okay, so definitely we need a roll here for sure. That's great. I think I would like to leverage righteous here. I don't know if it's necessarily forgiveness that you're offering, but it's in the area.
Well, it's conditional forgiveness. It's not
Yeah.
like an unconditional kind of thing where, I'm here for you no matter what. Like I'm willing to inflict harm on her, but I'm giving her an out that hopefully still aligns with her ideals.
Excellent. Okay, yeah, no, that's great. That's great. So forgive, I think, is the action, right?
Yeah.
Oh man. Okay.
So that's 2 to start with.
And
It
I'll
is.
spend a link on you. So now, yeah, so you should have 3 because I gave you one with the link.
Okay. I'm gonna tick another transcendence box, and
This is controlled And the effect is I think the effect is limited because of the nature of what she is. So I think there's success to be had here, absolutely. But there's going to be like a limitation to what she's capable of doing and providing.
That makes sense. And the limitation is based upon, I just want to make sure I have it straight in my head fictionally. What's the limitation based on? Like,
Yeah, I think
she's not really human, or like, what is it?
that she's pretty limited to where she can go at the moment, where she can reach. And so it's so a lot of what that might look like is, trying to find a mirror to reach out to her. She can't necessarily go into, the mortal realm, so to speak.
Got it. So the scope of her influence is inherently limited.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I think you can push for greater effect. Probably has something to do with like magic girl powers or something if you wanted to, but it's up to you.
Pushing for greater effect, how does that work exactly?
I think that's how it works, right? Is you just take 2 stress, and instead of gaining an additional die, you gain increased effectiveness.
Oh, the trading position for effect.
You can do that too instead. So we can go to risky instead of controlled, and then go from limited to standard.
Can I do both those things? Make it a risky move, but increase effect also to standard from limited? Or is it one or the other?
It's controlled now. So if you drop controlled to risky, we would then go from limited to standard. So yep, you can do that.
Okay. And do I have to spend stress to do that?
Nope, that's just trading position for effect.
Just something I can do. Okay. So let's do that. Let's up the ante a little bit there. I've got 3 dice in my pool right now. Can I also take 2 stress to get an extra one?
Sorry, say that again.
I have 3 dice in my pool. Can I push myself and take 2 stress to get one more die?
Yes, yeah, because you didn't push yourself yet. Because the third die came from Link, right?
Yes.
Okay. Yep.
Yep. Okay. I'm pushing myself frighteningly close to Eclipse here, but that's all right. So 4 dice.
Ooh.
Okay. Ooh, that's a 6.
So it happens. She takes your hand, and she was like, shadowy in her appearance. And when she takes your hand, the shadows peel away to reveal a figure made of smoky mirror glass, much like the Masked Marquis was. And she says, yes. Yes. She says, take this and call to me. You can speak to me through this. And she lets go of your hand and then just like reaches in through her chest, and like it breaks apart like mirror, and she wrenches out a prism and she sets it in your hands, and then she dissolves into glass shards.
I think there's just kind of maybe like a final frame of me sort of like holding this thing in the palm of my hand, looking down at it with a mixture of astonishment and fear.
Nice. Is there anything? There's no present immediate danger or anything like that. The mirror that went into this space of the Baronesses is still open to the mansion. So there's still a clear mechanism of escape if you wanted to leave. But I wanted to open the floor in case there's something else that all of you wanted to do here in this moment.
I would say the moment all this kind of like it was occurring with like Vega's having that moment with the Baroness and everything, and having realized like what has like the failure to like stop Oda from being dragged off and everything with the spear throw and everything, and Alhena being left kind of there with the like missed like a hand grab and everything like that. In a sense, I would say Polaris kind of just rushes over to Alhena and everything, and like stops just short of like where Alhena, I guess it currently would be, and kind of just is like, are you okay?
Actually, good question. Since since I technically failed at that last roll, was I supposed to get some sort of harm or something? Or
It
was
went so
basically
it went so fast because I didn't establish position and effect.
yeah.
So if you would retroactively love to have marked harm for this awful, tremendous moment, you're more than welcome to.
Let's see. I'm gonna see how resisting that goes first, considering how close Alhena is to eclipsing, basically.
Okay, yeah, no, I think that's great. I think what this probably looks like is level 2 harm, like lost mentor, not just in the sense of Oda being lost, but like that was a space in your life that is now, as far as we know, is gone. There's just this hole there.
Let's see. Yeah, I guess that would be a moon, huh? Let's see. One die. Yeah, I don't resist that very well.
Okay, so it goes away. So you don't mark it, but you do mark 4 stress, which means we need an eclipse roll.
Yeah, and I'm going to use my link preemptively since it's not like it's going to last much longer, which prevents eclipse on 4 or 5, as well as the fact that we do have that series ability on our side too.
All right, what does that look like as you rush to Alhena's side?
I would say is first of all, how does Alhena look in this situation? Actually, I guess from all of this,
I would say essentially it's like, let's see, after it's like reaching out and basically failing to catch Oda, kind of just like ended up falling to their falling to their knees and hands. It's like basically it's like in it's like both from the despair of it and also in trying to catch themselves in the process. It's like kind of just like, and it's like this, it's clearly a moment of basically being shell shocked, where they kind of just stare at the ground for a moment. It's like, if you look very carefully, they're like very barely kind of shaking. It's like from the suddenness of it all. It's like their hands kind of start to sort of claw. It's like slightly as though trying to clench. And it's like, so they kind of just like claw into the dirt beneath them and everything, as it's like as they're taking a moment to sort of process everything that just happened so quickly.
I would say then, seeing that Sarah kind of like gets down on one of her knees, just enough to kind of get down to like the level of Alhena and everything, and placing a hand to Alhena's back and everything, and kind of that thing of like that reassuringly kind of saying, "Don't worry, Oda's not lost. We can still save her. We may have missed the chance now, but we can definitely help Oda, and I know that Oda has that faith in you."
And an eclipse roll is just a d6, was it?
I think. Did you not roll it already?
We kind of we should. I think we think we sort of discussed the roll, but we didn't do it.
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry. Oh,
because
okay.
that was on the that was the consequence thing, and then
Right.
Alhenna just rolled and I did a link for prevent eclipse on 4 or 5, and then I know we have the series ability that also changes the level
Okay.
of
So
things.
you technically hold on to that link.
Okay.
Because we haven't made the eclipse roll. So that's why I was confused.
Well,
Sorry.
and the eclipse roll just happened anyway, which is a 1.
Well, it's a good thing we have that series ability.
Oh, geez, yeah.
Janice, hold at the very end. When rolling eclipse, you may adjust your result by 1 level. Okay, yep. So there we go. All right, excellent. So that goes up to a 4/5, and then you spend a link and avoid the eclipse for now. Okay.
I think basically it just looks like, essentially, it's like Alhenna's just, it's like sort of shaking, perhaps it's like seething in a sense and everything. Unfortunately, because Oda always taught them, it's like always raised them to basically put on a mask, they're not very good at processing their emotions right now. And it's like it probably takes a very, it's like thorough moment. It's like before they finally sort of, it's like sit themselves back up, basically just, it's like sort of, it's like so they're basically it's like resting on their knees. It's like sort of, it's like head tilted up, or just it's like slowly breathing. It's like instinctively sort of, it's like clutches at their chest before, it's like until finally they go, you're right, just, I think I need a moment.
And Sarah is like kind of like empathetically kind of gives a kind of silent kind of nod before just kind of standing up and everything, and just being like, well, if you need a hug or anything, I'm always around, and but I understand if you need your space right now. And at that, she kind of politely kind of gives Alhenna their space and everything before kind of rushing off, because the one thing's for certain, she knows that like Vega is fine because everything that happened, but still needs to check up on Frida as well, because Frida just kind of went into like a whole burst and everything. So she's doing the kind of check on everybody and make sure everybody's okay. So at least Alhenna's good. So that's what Sarah will be doing while everybody else is doing something.
I think you don't have to go very far, because Frida has come over to the two of you. While you're comforting Alhenna, Frida has walked up to where some of the shards of glass from the mirror that Albrecht disappeared into have landed, and she's picked up one, and she's holding it sort of absent-mindedly in one hand and staring forward with an unreadable expression at the mirror. And when Alhenna says, "I need space," and Polaris agrees, Frida says, "We need time, and we found this place. We claimed it. We can do it again when we've rested. It's just another step."
It sounds like a great place to end. Okay. So move on to the fallout phase, and then we jump into the obligation phase. So I meant to advance the abyss tracker. Starts with one, and then one for each of the following. The adversary's agenda move forward. So yes. Someone fell into eclipse, or someone was killed or defected to the adversary. Yes. And the protagonist came closer to their destiny. Yes. So I'll move it up 4. And we are at investigation tier 3, so I need to roll 3 dice. A 4. And so for the fallout, for tier 2, agents of the abyss stalk a friend. Okay.
Looking forward to that. Whatever that entails.
Excellent.
Another NPC in danger.
Another.
We've got to save them.
Go ahead and clear your stress and your transcendence clocks or your trackers. And then because you all went on a seek answers mission, we do not reduce the investigation clock. It remains where it's at. A seek answers mission that turned into a whole lot more.
We found answers.
We found out, all right.
How did we do on Vega's code?
Yeah,
great question. So the long story short is violence is permitted, but nobody is allowed to lie, admit fault, or ask for help. I don't know. I feel like I might have accidentally lied at the very start when I was talking to Rose, trying to get in the tent. Sort of that whole, hey, what are you doing here kind of talk. I don't know if I was explicitly lying, but I was definitely being less than transparent, I'll put it that way.
Yeah, I guess it depends on how you would view lying, because
Yeah.
it's not like you necessarily, it's more of a lie through omission, which sometimes some people say that's not lying. Kind of depends on how you want to view it.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not inclined to view it as I have to at all costs be completely honest and tell everyone exactly what I'm doing at all times, but I don't know how we want to be, how permissive we want to be of deception with this.
Yeah, the one that's been bugging me since last session is you pretending to be Rose and me pretending to be a dryad. Does that count as lying?
Oh,
Right.
I mean, it depends on it. Does lying to our adversaries count against us in this situation?
It is a code.
Yeah, that does count as lying for sure. Yeah, I'm inclined to, maybe if not every single one. I'll put it this way: if there's not one specific thing that stands out as a code break, I feel like there's enough little things that are kind of on the threshold to just kind of call it.
Man, they expect a lot from the Guardian, don't they?
I guess.
Oof.
That's my interpretation. If anyone wants to disagree, that's totally cool. We can talk about it more, but that's just my guess.
I feel like the better way to kind of go about it is, since we're all kind of semi on the fence on like the interpretation of the lying, is just kind of leave it up to Danny to be the final like maybe voice of reason on how we might be interpreting it.
I think it might also kind of depend on basically like what Violet's interpretation of her code is. Considering this is it's like living by a code.
Yeah,
That's very reasonable.
That's
yeah.
fair.
So I guess more it comes down to, I guess, really, does Vega or Violet have opinions on that?
When you put it that way, I actually feel like I was consistent with my own values. I don't feel like it was this sort of lying to me doesn't feel like the use of a disguise so that you can set up an ambush. That's just kind of like how one wages battle. I think lying here it reads more like
dishonesty to your friends or those who matter to you, or the mission or something like that.
yeah, or deliberately telling falsehoods to get out of something.
Yeah.
There's a sort of a lack of forthrightness.
Yeah, whereas what we had in this one was more subterfuge. We were just kind of trying to infiltrate the abyss, not necessarily lie about anything per se.
Yeah.
Right. That's kind of more what I was thinking now that we're talking about it more.
Yeah, so basically, I guess it's kind of like, did Violet basically, it's like, did Vega basically like violate her own standards, and did the rest of us do anything that basically violated her standards regarding her code?
Sure. Unless anyone disagrees, I think I'm converted to saying let's mark Series XP for it, if that's okay with you, Danny, or what do you
Yeah.
think?
That's fine.
Okay, so we mark Series
Yeah.
XP, and I mark XP myself.
Yep. Okay. Good reminder. Good reminder. So next is the obligation phase, which will be interesting to think of what it might look like differently now that various individuals have been revealed. So you all find your way back to the pageant, the fairgrounds that have been set up. And I think, did we set out in the middle of the night again? Is that how that worked?
I think we went in the middle of the night because how Oda and everybody, it sounded like they were kind of taking a midnight stroll through the hedge, being as out of the public eye as possible.
Okay. I think then, yes, it's true. I think you make it back. You sort of stumble into camp at dawn, and the fairgrounds are waking up. The pageant is getting ready. The tents are being torn down, and it's time to go on another stretch of the parade deeper into the city. No rest for the wicked. So feel free again to set your obligation scene during the parade, setting up for it wherever we land next, deeper into the city somewhere. Who would like to start?
I guess I could start and everything and all. So we're back on the parade here. As if nothing happened last night, nothing at all here. Actually, is the parade happening, continuing on actually into the night now, and we're and as we kind of move on to the next day, or is it like we had a moment, at least we rested up and woke up to the parade the next day? Actually, out of curiosity.
Oh, I think you're arriving back at dawn, and the whole camp is waking up, getting ready to put things back together and set off. So there is no like moment to rest at the moment right now.
Okay. That gives me a good idea. So I would say, first, with Sarah and everything, they're getting kind of, they're kind of practicing the routine and everything like that. Checking their equipment to see if there's any kind of damages as they're doing it, and all, because I'm assuming we're in the preparation stage here right now. And all the while, she's just kind of looking about in the meanwhile of trying to kind of multitask and see if she can find Marie, because she hasn't seen her in a bit. So she's very concerned about that. So, and like I would say she's kind of twirling her baton in contemplation, and every time, once in a while, checking her stuff, looking around for Marie. Very distracted from what she's needing to do per se. Wouldn't be surprised if she may or may not have had the baton fall on her head a few times here and there out of distraction. And then trying to see where she can maybe even help out to just busy herself as she goes about things, like seeing if any of the dancers or somebody in other camps may or may not just have more use for her to keep her mind kind of working towards this parade at the moment.
Okay. I think after Sarah returns to her tent, after having gone to look to be useful, everybody was busy. They all have their jobs. Nobody had a use for Sarah right now. They return. She returns, and there is one of House Ignis's like house help type individual, and they're there, and they say, "No, you'll have no need for that baton and your dance attire." And they hold out in, like, careful plastic wrap, a very elegant dress, and they say, "Regalia requires you on the float."
And she, like, kind of instinctively takes a hold of this this dress that's being offered to her and everything, but it's she takes it kind of with a sense of how should I put it? It's a struggle emotionally and mentally as she takes it, and goes, but I don't know what to do on the float. I
think
I've never done this before.
that's a great time to make this roll.
Oh gosh. Being thrown right into it. Oh goodness. And well, I still have 0 in stars. Woo! Not helping myself. So I'm assuming it's 2 dice and take the worst.
Yep,
right?
that's right.
Okay. Well, never going to have a good obligation phase for me. Okay, I'll take that. That's a lot better than I was expecting.
Yeah.
So
Don't worry, Sarah. Polaris has got this. So that's 2 stress. I kind of like, if it's okay with you, leaving it hanging there as like, I don't know, maybe we'll see in a flashback or something, just how awful that goes for Sarah having to stand on the float in front of everybody.
Oh yeah, no, I absolutely love the idea of that.
So we'll just let that hang. All right, who would like to go next?
I can go next if no one else wants to.
Okay.
Let's see. So basically, we are moving on to another part of the city with this parade.
Yeah.
Let's see. In that case, I imagine it's like Adele, basically, it's back to the unenviable position of management work and having to tell people what to do and making sure they do it right, and then dealing with the fires as come about from people making mistakes. Let's see. For this part, probably it's looks along the lines of basically having certain parts taken down. It's so that they can be, for travel, and then making sure other parts are maintained properly during the actual travel and everything. Let's see. And so it's for Adele, basically, it's they have to go through it's like each station and everything. It's like basically checking off it's like from many pages of it's like lists of tasks and everything, making sure they're done and having to take notes and everything as to what's been done, what still needs to be done. Has anything caught on fire? And if anything caught on fire, who is responsible for it? Unfortunately, they're responsible for it. And it's like basically it's like kind of looks like that throughout the it's like alongside traveling and everything. It's like moving along with the parade also basically means moving along and checking each station, each worker. It's like each task and everything. And kind of it's like imagine looks like that for pretty much most of the obligation phase, if nothing else. And it's like a spectacular note happens.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's probably exactly what it looks like. I think you also hear through people mingling while you're, attending to duties. People are lined up. They talk in line. You can overhear that major house officials have been quite active in cleaning up the area. They don't want what happened in the first stretch of the pageant when it got to this last location to happen again. So they've kind of gone in with a lot of police forcing enforcers and cleared out this next route forcibly from the resistance factions and those that work in their periphery. I think you hear that yeah, I think that's right. What do you think you're rolling here? Does it sound more like drives you to despair or puts you under social pressure and sets off your anxiety?
I kind of imagine it's like throughout all this, they're still not. It's like keep on expecting like Oda to just suddenly appear as it's like she usually does. It's like to critique something, and it's like just the even though it's like even after seeing everything that happened, it's like the other night and everything, but just it's like not having Oda just it's like appear and everything, and something inside of them keeps on expecting it to. It's like a sort of anxiety that keeps on building up.
Okay.
It's like I imagine, and part of the reason basically that they're doing this, and they're probably also like going the extra mile into doing this too, is it's like them desperately trying to distract themselves. So let's see. I guess that would probably be. I guess that'd be closer to Moon, probably.
Okay.
A 3.
3 stress. I like the idea that the camera pans away as a bunch of people are lined up and someone's talking to Adele, trying to get their attention. And Adele's just looking where Oda should be. And that's what we cut from the scene. Frida or Violet?
Okay, I can see one of two. I can see one of two ways to two scene prompts here. One is Frida taking negative social pressure from administrators. Sorry, administrators of her house, because official displeasure is being dumped on her because she's a target. Like her father probably already knew, but now everyone he knows, she knows, he knows.
Yeah.
The other option would be struggling to wheedle and deedle and work out some kind of arrangement that means that Ian is authorized to be in the tent area and he's got space for a meal, etc. Because I'm imagining that there's an awful lot of control about who goes where and how many meal credits are reserved for pageant goers and what have you, and just trying to make sure that Ian has space in the in the press of it. I feel like that's almost a long-term project, though, not an obligation scene.
I'm okay with it being an obligation scene if we want to lean into Moon.
Okay.
I think as you're making these arrangements, you're reaching out probably to somebody like that Adele is overseeing, right? Like, 'cause this is all about logistics. Is there enough food? Is there enough space, etc.? And they start going through their, their pad of some sort, and they're looking through it. They're like, Ian. Oh yes, no, I see. Perfectly fine. He has been assigned to your dance unit, so if you don't mind making sure that he's up to speed, that's important. And there's a note here, and they just kind of turn the pad and show it to you, and it says, official, like official statement of, oh man, I'm gonna forget your house's name. What's your house's name?
On Tech.
Alnitak, yes, thank you.
Alnitak. Official correspondence from Alnitak. And it's somewhat embarrassing, perhaps, maybe to somebody else, probably not to Frida, we'll see. And it says there, Ian has been assigned, all expenses paid through House Alnitak. Send or forward message to Frida and Ian Alnitak. You disappoint me. I have no need for you.
I think she lets out a little huff of like, that's sort of like a half bark of a laugh, and and thanks the, and then her face sort of the moment passes, and she looks up and says thank you. I appreciate the I appreciate the information, and I'm glad that this matter could be resolved. And then when she's left, she looks up at the sky and says, "The feeling's mutual, old man."
Nice. I don't think that was Moon at all for Frida. That's fine.
Oh well.
I think all right, so Moon or stars, either way.
It's equivalent either way, so.
Yeah.
The feeling's mutual, old man.
Yeah. Shake your fist at the stars. Excellent. Okay. So Ian's in there with you, no problem. Now it's just a matter of getting Ian up to snuff for the dancing, I suppose.
The serious, I guess, and energy.
Yeah. Okay. Violet.
Did you say earlier that there were kind of more rebellions happening in the city the further in we get, or that the rebellious activity was increasing, or did I make that up in my head?
No. So this particular area of the city that we're kind of in the process of leaving, where there's multiple smaller houses working in concert to run it, there's more rebellious activity here. Last time during the obligation phase, when our cast was moving through, I think we had established that there was going to be like a lot of displays of discontent, but they kind of got pushed to the side, and buildings and whatnot got cleaned up. So just like a block over from the parade route, there was a lot of graffiti and signs of discontent and stuff like that. So now I think what we've established as they're moving out, that the enforcement, the major houses have kind of done a crackdown. And so they've sent in a bunch of people to round up these forces or drive them away for the time being.
I got it. I was thinking of having a scene in which maybe someone in a brazen borderline suicidal show of of recklessness, tries to kind of make a run for the torch and spray it with water or something. Kind of the way that people will protest by like trying to ruin paintings or things like that in museums, that sort of idea.
Uh-huh.
And so I'm put in a position where I have to preserve the torch, but also I don't want this person to get killed or arrested. Maybe they're just like a teenager or something like that, and it's like, oh, I don't want you to throw your life away over this, and that sort of thing.
I think that's great. There's a commotion and then like a bunch of smoke from the crowd, and then somebody comes running over, and Gabriel goes to intercept.
Okay. Um, is Gabriel, I mean, how do you think they might threaten the torch? Do they like bypass Gabriel and get to me, or do they have like a ranged projectile of some kind?
Yeah. So they have like cyberpunk water balloon situation going on. They just got like a whole bandolier of them. So they're rushing forward with two of them. Gabriel goes to intercept and they throw one, and so it goes over his head and is headed right towards you. It's about to explode and soak you in the torch.
Got it. Um, I love that cyberpunk water balloon. Okay. So I guess I would try to um oh my gosh, I wonder if there's some flashy thing I could do where I like throw the torch to Gabriel like a if the assailant is here, Gabriel's here, I'm here. There's a water balloon going over his head. I wonder if I can toss the torch here. And there's this really awkward moment where we lock eyes and have to trust each other. And I'm not used to eye contact with him. I still feel weird about it. No, that'd be good. There could be a moment of sustained eye contact, and depending on how we roll, he does or does not fumble the bag, or I do or do not fumble the torch.
Excellent. Okay, yeah. So this is stars for you.
Yeah, I'm afraid it might be flow.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's just the one because of stars.
Oh, just stars generally. Well,
Yep.
that's not much better. It's still one. So is it just one die then?
Yep.
Oh, for pity's
And we just
sake.
subtract it from 6.
Oh dear. Okay, here we go. A 2.
Perfect.
My others were real bad, real good. So this one's balancing it out.
4 stress for you. All right, yeah, you've kind of set this up. So there's a lot of stress there. Not as much as it could be. So what happens? Does he drop the torch? Or do you just get soaked?
I mean, a 2 is a pretty bad outcome. I'm thinking he grabs the torch, but yeah. So he grabs the torch. Me and him lock eyes for a moment. There's this explosion in which I am sort of humorously doused in water. And I no longer look cool. I look like a dopey little anime character whose hair is like just flat against their head. And then darkly, I think that we failed to protect the assailant. I think that they're going to get tackled by 20 different guards at that moment. And then Gabriel realizes at the last minute that he's holding the torch wrong, and now his sleeve is starting to light up. And we kind of end it on people rushing after him with fire extinguishers while he's flailing around, flapping his arms comedically in the
Nice.
background, running back and forth across the scene. Like that sort of thing.
Well, I love it. That's great. Okay. Wonderful obligation phase. All right. So next we'll move into downtime. We're at the top of the hour. So 5 minutes and then we'll jump into it.
Hey, Danny. While we're waiting for David, I had a quick question.
Sure.
Because I have a thing where Sarah's like magical girl form is entirely powered based on her links with her friends and everything. I have an idea of like how easy it is to take the transcendence from Harmony and from Guardian. However, I don't know if like I get a rival per se when trying to use any of Frida's transcendence abilities, which was part of my one thing I'm trying to figure out there. Because it says take from any playbook, but it doesn't say how to make it work per se.
I think the narratively what makes the most sense to me is that they're not necessarily your rival, but the one who triggers off of what is it? This one is mine. Is probably Violet because of your weird I gotta protect you, you gotta protect me thing.
Okay.
If you would like a different reading on that, by all means.
Oh, no. I think that would be probably a good way to... I feel like that's probably the best way to work with it, because I can't really think of any other way, but Will seems like they may have had an idea or thought.
No, I think that covered it. I was just going to suggest that if you were taking like you could reskin rival as the target of your obsession or the core of your promise.
Okay, yeah.
But I think that's basically
but that works perfectly. Then yeah, it makes even more sense that with Violet and everything.
Cool. All right, so we are in the downtime phase. Dun dun dun. So the floor is yours. Does anybody have a downtime activity they would like to work on?
I'd like to poll the group. I understand that we're probably going into our last mission because look at the time, but would we want to be building out next for a purification chamber, a garden, or a lounge?
Probably purification chamber.
That makes sense. We might even get to use the depending on how well this goes, we might even get to use the purification chamber.
That sounds right to me.
Okay.
So I'll set a 4 o'clock for working on the purification chamber. I take it that is what Frida is doing.
Yeah, I think we see a scene of her. We see a scene of her having sort of strode into the skybox, like in the skybox, having strode into the space a little ways away from the other things that have been laid down, and she has laid down she has collected some shards of glass. She walked away from the from the abyss area with some of the shards of glass from the mirror, and she's arrayed them in a circle, sort of delineating a space of about 2 people, that 2 people could stand in, sort of a ritual space. And she's analyzing the glass. She's trying to sort of delve insight into if there's any residual abyssal energy in the glass from the mirrors and how that might interact with the skybox to sort of find any commonality point between them.
Oh, sure, yeah. Why don't you? What action does that sound like to you?
That's a 0 die analyze.
Nice. Okay.
Unfortunately, I think I am going to push myself for 2 stress so that I can have a die on this.
Okay.
1.
2 segments. So there is this resonance that occurs between the skybox and these abyssal mirror shards, and it's like shadow reaches out where light from the stars above reflect off of the abyssal mirror shards. You would expect more light, but instead it's like rays of shadow, tendrils of shadow that are reaching out and extending outwards, and Lepus is bouncing around you frantically, very, very, very worried about this situation. Yeah.
The fuck around, find out cycle continues.
Yeah, pretty much. Excellent. So yeah, halfway progress on the purification chamber. All right, next downtime activity.
Since I still have 3 because of my other thing here, I will just go next to spend it up. Let's see here. You know what? I will do a connection with Violet.
Yeah, that sounds reasonable.
Now the bigger question is, what is Violet up to today? Now that we just had that fun situation with the torch and everything, I have no idea what Violet's up to after all that.
Toweling my hair off, maybe, something like that. Yeah, I mean, I probably can't be actively on duty the entire rest of the day because my uniform is completely drenched. So they probably have given me the kind of rest of the day or evening or whatever time it is sort of off. And I, maybe you enter as I'm kind of toweling myself off and have this enormously large robe bundled about me, kind of like I just got out of a shower or something like that. Would that be a decent starting point?
Yeah, no, I think that's a good starting point. I would say then like Sarah kind of see it like comes in. It's like, and first of all, I'm assuming that given her circumstances and all, she probably didn't hear or know about your beautiful moment with the surprise water fight here, and so her first initial thing is just like, oh, I was coming to check see how you're doing, but all right, what happened?
Security's gotten sloppy. I'm lucky they only were throwing a water bomb.
So somebody, why though? Like, did were they upset about something?
Well, it's what's not to be upset about. I mean, the the city and the country are pretty much in a stranglehold right now.
I mean, you're right. It's
It's natural to resist.
yeah, it is, and it is a pretty tough point. If only they really knew that. Well, you're not really against what things of trying to make a change either. I think I understand the torch is a symbolic and everything, but the one holding it is a person too.
Well, I don't take it personally.
That's
I do represent the status quo, whether I like it or not.
Yeah. Well, at least it was only water, so at least there's that. Um, I guess aside from that, like, I'm kind of curious, just in general, from all the craziness that happened last night and everything. I just wanted to see how you're feeling and how things going in with your family and such.
Well, we protected Rose for another day. I don't know what that means for her. But I got this, and I hold up the prism. Um, the Baroness is willing to cooperate with us, at least for the time being. Uneasy allies, maybe, but it's better than the alternative.
Oh, I think that just tells just how well how well you reached out to them and the kind of changes you can make. I mean, not gonna lie, I don't think I would have had my chance of, I guess, knowing what it's like to be a magical girl if it wasn't for you. I mean, how should I say it? I I consider you my part of my family, and I think that in the moment I just kind of realized how much I worried about you when you were about to get attacked. So I guess things kind of just happened, and it was interesting to say the least.
Well, listen, I've been meaning to talk to you about that. If you're going to go around transcending like that, you need to be able to protect yourself. I I don't know if I can protect you as much as I'd like to think I can, not when you're flying around like that.
Yeah, no, I Alhen has told me I think something semi-similar in the past. Um, and I understand why everybody worries, but I mean, I will at least say I will try my best to do everything I can to, like, not make you guys worry, but at the end of the day, I I can't stop myself from also wanting to be there for you guys, and I really didn't want you getting hit by the Baroness and everything, so I kind of just reacted.
Well, here's the deal I'll make with you then. If there's one thing I've learned, it's that you can't rely completely on yourself. Even if you do have the ability to transcend the way that you and I both do, you still have to rely on your sisters, I guess you might say. So, starting today, I will be your sparring partner.
And her eyes just kind of widen for a moment, and before kind of like a little bit of a like sparkle comes to it, and it's like, I would love that actually. I don't really. I'll admit I'm not really one for the fighting. I've always just watched you guys do it. My only technique really is take off a shoe and see where it goes. So I would actually love to actually understand what I'm doing a little bit more.
Um, I say don't speak so uh don't speak so soon, and then there's maybe like a still frame of me just like whipping you with a towel.
I think that's a good way to end it, actually, right there. Just
Yep. All right, yeah, so this was Sayra's downtime activity. What action are you rolling here?
I feel like in this way, it's kind of in a way, she's kind of almost kind of confessing a bit of like about how everything was with the last night. The confessing that, like, she feels that one, she felt that her transcendence was in part due to Vega's talk and her connection as like almost family with like Vega.
Violet, did you enjoy this?
Yeah.
Nice. Okay, so one dice for confess and one for Violet being on board.
I'm trying to remember. It was that and I don't have the extra dice anymore because I'm no longer immortal.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Yeah. There, goodbye, my extra roll. 4.
4 is 3 links. So that goes to Violet. Violet, you
what?
have 3
They can
links.
just keep the same links that are still on there.
Oh, yeah.
Convenient.
Convenient. So we haven't heard from Adele or Violet yet for downtime activity, I think.
Fumi, you got anything on your end?
I can go with you as I prefer.
Doesn't matter to me. I was going to try out my fancy new prism to contact the Baroness and see if I could learn more about who the ultimate bad guy is. But we can do that whenever.
No, go ahead, go for it.
Okay. So I'm thinking that I'm in the hangout, in some kind of secluded spot. Actually, do we have our own like bedrooms in the hangout, or is it just like one central hub?
I think at the beginning we established that in addition to the hub that like shares everybody's joint mess of emotions, you also have separate areas, whatever that looks like for Violet.
Okay. Um, okay. Yeah, so I'm gonna be like communing with this prism in my own separate area. I'm picturing it as um combination stereotypical teen girl bedroom mixed with weapons dojo.
Yes.
If those two, it's like you have like a rack of spears right next to a poster of some J-pop star posing.
Yeah.
Like that kind of thing.
Excellent.
And so I'm sitting at this desk, with again the comedically puffy robe, and maybe my hair is wrapped up in a towel. It's very Sailor Moon. And I'm fiddling with this prism, trying to get it to work, and my eyes are getting increasingly big, and I'm getting the increasingly frustrated eyebrows, like, work, darn it, and I'm like talking to it and banging it on the side of the table, trying to get it to do something. And then can it like light up suddenly, like the minute I say some password that I wasn't expecting would be the password?
Yeah.
Like the password is sushi or something ridiculous like that.
Right. It's ancient tongue for some magical incantation. Just also happens to be sushi.
Right, right. And so my goal for the scene is to do an investigation and try to find out like who the I mean, just again thinking about time, like Will mentioned, who the final boss is, or what the next step kind of looks like in terms of like how deep does this go? Who is the abyss's embodiment, or what have you?
Okay. I think the it lights up and then you hear a giggle from behind you, and the Baroness is sitting legs folded up to the side on the bed that's here. And she doesn't look shadowy. She doesn't look smoky mirror. She looks like a young woman, and clothes that are beyond out of style, but cute and well proportioned, like cut and everything to her shape. And she says, "It's about time." And then maybe we can make your roll and we can see how many questions you get.
Awesome. And so the roll is gonna be. You'll have to help me out one more time here. What do I do for the roll?
Yeah, so we need an action here.
Okay.
I think we have a lot of options here. I mean, analyze and perceive certainly makes sense, but also, You express could make sense, possibly empathize, maybe even still leverage forgive. I think it just kind of depends on the angle Violet's taking.
I think I'm trying to work with her in a diplomatic kind of way. So express maybe, but I mean it's all they're all one die.
Okay. Express sounds good.
So it's just one die that I roll, no modifiers.
When you investigate, describe how you seek information on your adversaries and make a downtime roll. It is just one dice. It is a downtime roll, but we pushed for another one. So if you want to push, I'm cool with that.
I'm already at 4 stress going into the mission. I don't know if that's a good idea. I will just roll the 1, and if it's a bad roll, then that makes things more complicated and scary, which is great going into a final mission. So that's fine.
Yep.
Okay, so we're gonna roll 1 die. It's a 1.
All right. So we have 1 question and 2 segments marked on the. So we're full on investigation. But you have 1 question. So which one from your gather information question?
So we rolled last time, like you rolled during the Fallout portion that the Abyss is the Abyss, I think it's called, is going to be what is it? Like stalking a friend?
Yep, that's right.
So I have who will my foes try to single out as a gather information question.
Yes. Okay.
Apologies if you didn't have that planned ahead of time. I don't know.
Oh no, that's good. There's a lot of options on the table of who that could be. Okay, I have it. She says, we have been very busy trying to pull on threads and cords. The more people resist, the more emotional they get, and the harder that is to contain. And it drives everyone right into the abyss. The linchpin in this particular case is to reach for the one that's perhaps the most vulnerable among you. And the easiest way to do that is through Marie.
Yeah, I'm looking at their blurb here. They would be vulnerable, wouldn't they? Great. And then I mean I'll probably blather out some questions about well what do we need to do? How do we help? And I don't know if I'll actually get any of that answered. But I am kind of like frantically like blabbering with my mouth probably half the size of my face in the show. Trying to get more answers, but with a 1, I don't know how much I can really pull.
Yeah, I think she says that with how things are now, she's trying to stabilize, so that way she can remain in multiple places, so that she can be useful and she can help by being an insider. And that's difficult at the moment. And there's lots of things in motion. And she knows that Regalia is heading up that avenue. And so she doesn't know any additional details at this time.
Out of character, I get all of that, and that's all in my notes, and I'm bearing that in mind. In character, I think she's hearing about half of that, and she's like talking over her the whole time.
Yeah.
And as the scene closes out, like the last thing you hear is her, in a very angry, accusatory manner, going, "And sushi? What the heck kind of passcode is sushi?" And then it cuts to the next scene.
Excellent. Adele.
Let's see. I imagine it probably is like, let's see, for them, it follows right after like or right towards the very end of their obligation phase where you just see them. It's like they're at this point, it's like they have clipboard in one hand It's like, and on the back of that hand is it's like their other arm is resting, and they are basically pinching the bridge of their nose as they're talking to a few people. Like, what do you mean? It's like, what do you mean she got splashed with a cyberpunk water balloon? What do you mean he then caught on fire? It's like, and then what do you mean? What? And then it's like after it's like basically it's like after hearing of like the mess it's like going on in other places amongst everything else, probably like another 2 short seasons. It's like someone else just kind of is like comes up and basically goes, it's like basically brings up a whole entire new fire. It's like, what do you? It's like, and a rebel is targeting. Is like, is like one of the it's like parade stands are taking out. It's like, and it's like it's like overwhelming. It's like, and it's gotten overwhelming to the point of it's like where it's like when somebody finally asks, it's like, so it's like, what should we do in this situation? It's like Adele kind of finally acts like snaps, and it's like for the first time, it's like basically raises for it's like, why can't you actually figure that out yourself? And then just a pause and just, I'm sorry. It's like, if you'll excuse me. And it's like kind of just sort of hurries back to their tent. It's like sort of it's like slams down their it's like clipboard is like upon the desk, and basically it's like before it's like hurrying to it's like the skybox, and it's like, and I imagine probably it's like catching Frida on the tail end of it's like uh her working on the it's like purification chamber, or what it's supposed to be, if namely because the Kamosha let this basically bouncing around everywhere. It's like probably is like the first thing that is like greets them when they enter the skybox. And it's like before they go, it's like they can't take a moment to recompose themselves after that, and just it's like sort of it's like trying to work on something there, Frida.
Frida nods and um the I think Frida starts to explain her reasoning sort of haltingly about the nature of liminal spaces like the skybox and the place that they'd been in, that the Baroness's garden felt in some ways like the skybox, and maybe there was some sort of commonality here, and then sort of trails off and looks at the various shards of mirror and then says, but I could be wrong. I could use another pair of eyes on this.
It's like Adele. It's like kind of hand to chin. It's like listening to everything. It's like contemplating, discuss. Yeah, I'll help you on that. I need to. It's like I desperately need to take my mind off of some things right now, anyway. And so my downtime action will basically be to help further the clock on that project. Let's see.
Frida is happy to put in some quiet downtime adjusting adjusting items with you.
I guess that would probably be either it's like analyze or it's like perceive usually, but it's like of which it's like neither of which it has a it's like Pippin.
Yeah, okay.
Actually, let's see. So let me think.
What if I assisted you and granted you 2 dice?
Actually, let me think, because it's like Frida did basically explain like the gist of what they were going for and everything, and it was basically to like use the mirror shards to basically sort of connect and it's like gain insight into it's like towards the abyss, was it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so let's see.
Just to be transparent, a roll of a 1 through 3 is going to fill that clock. So if you get higher, if the two of you want to tag team this in some way, like through an assist or whatever, I'm happy to carry over additional segments into like whatever the next section of the hideout is. I think that sounds reasonable.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm just trying to figure out how it's like Adele's basically doing this. And so I guess it's like with that in mind, it's like kind of like probably it's like sort of like reaches out to touch one of the shards and just kind of it's like before asking, it's like, have you tried feeling through it by any chance? Am I making any sense or am I it's like finally losing myself?
Frida nods and says it's tenuous. It's I'm sure they didn't want us doing this. I'm sure they would prefer that we not be trying. I don't feel inclined to let them have the last word.
Of course not. It's like it's like after it's like everything I've it's like done last night. It's like and it's like all the messes I've caused. It's like I don't need another thing to add to it's like the list of it's like what I can't forgive myself for right now. And
You're not responsible for what she did. She was They gave her a bad deal. And they're very good at catching people on their bad days.
and it's like Adele just kind of whispers, I know. But sometimes we can't it's like really help the guilt, can we? And I guess with that just kind of like it's like contemplates for a moment. It's like as though they're it's like trying to sort of like pour their feelings is like into it's like the shard that they're touching as though it's like almost trying to sort of energize it in a way. I guess it's like in a way sort of like also thinking to it's like thinking back to basically how Oda probably felt it's like in that moment. And then let's see.
What action?
I think that would be empathize because basically at that point they're it's like for once they're trying to use their it's like emotions.
Nice. I like it.
And so yeah.
Do you want assistance on that, or do you want to carry it yourself?
I think I'll be fine with this one. That and I already rolled and I got a 5.
Okay.
Oh, okay. 3 segments. So we'll finish the purification chamber off and I'll just knock that additional one over to the next hideout area. So as Adele pours their emotions into these shards, what was, starlight being directed down at them from above and then shadow tendrils coming out, the shadow tendrils kind of just dissipate like mist, and the shards, what were like dark and smoky, become clear and pristine, and the shards illuminate with light, with starlight.
And it's like Adele basically kind of like draws her hand back, kind of just it's like marvels is like a bit at the result and just it's like, well, look at that. I guess it's like I guess it just needed to feel something.
So we have 20 minutes left. We've done a single round of downtime activities. I've noticed that XP and Stars and Wishes takes a little while. And so I've been keeping you guys over. My apologies. So maybe we just start that now. And then next time we wrap up with downtime and see where it takes us. Okay. All right, Series XP. Did we successfully carry out a mission from the series list?
I wonder, maybe?
Yes. All right. So we have an ability. Did we confront the world's oppression and combat those who suffer?
I think we did that and then some. I think that was a lot of confronting of that.
Legit. Did we explore the nature of the darkness and redeem those who have fallen?
I would say definitely explored it, and then I don't know if we necessarily perhaps redeemed, but I did feel like there was a bit of that kind of with the Baroness and Vega moment.
Yeah, I was about to say there was that moment with Vega and the Baroness.
And did we express the essential nature, origin, or destiny of the group?
I feel like that with how we were also confronting everybody and that we were in that mess, we were kind of showing what we're about, what we intend to, what we're intending to do by fighting against this abyss in a way. So I would say that we probably actually did that this time.
Does anybody feel like we really hit that and there was more than one, or do we think one's good there? Okay. Does anybody have an ability in mind to take? Either a group transcendent one or a group series one?
I know that there was a few things on that were brought up by Fumi and all.
There was a different group. There was a different version of marks a transcendent action dot, and then there was a protecting the innocence XP trigger.
Oh yeah, I still have in my notes. There was Never Alone from the series Heroes of the People, where when your mission protects someone or something important, gain +1 dice to the engagement roll, which I guess could become pertinent with them targeting Marie. Or Academy Trained, where each protagonist adds +1 action rating to perceive, flow, and analyze.
That one sounds pretty sexy to me. And pageant trained is like academy trained, right?
Yeah.
I love it. That's great.
Yeah, no, I think that one probably would be the most beneficial as a whole to our group as we're kind of entering into this like final potential confrontation of the abyss very soon.
So we feel like Academy / pageant trained.
Does that sound good to you,
like...
David?
Sounds good to me. David?
Yeah, that's fine with me.
Okay.
That was perceive, flow, and analyze?
Yes. So everybody gets a dot, an action dot, and perceive, flow, and analyze.
Somehow Stars now has gotten better than my son after being the worst for so long.
It's transcendent dots, right?
That's correct, right? Is that what it said?
I just said +1 action rating, so I guess it could spill into transcendence dots.
Yeah, so it's normal dots.
Oh, cool.
So nice. Yeah. All right. Who would like to go for their playbook XP?
I like to go first, I guess. Just get it over with. Address a challenge with compassion or honesty. I had a lot of compassion and honesty in general in addressing Regalia and the challenge I'm having in general with what has occurred here in general. And in general, also showed a lot of compassion and honesty throughout the entire mission. And let's see there. You expressed your beliefs, drives, role, and background. Absolutely. That's one reason why me and Regalia butted heads. And along with that, I did kind of share my kind of like belief in everything of like, one, that Violet was kind of the driving force for my transcendence in this situation. You struggled with issues from your promises or obligations. That is an understatement at this point in time. With I struggled a whole lot with especially my obligation and trying to still kind of make things work, even though I have unfinished business with Regalia here. But I struggled to just maintain doing what I needed to do with my obligation. But and along with that, I'm my character taking on that poison promise of like with the against Marie and everything. I feel like is another struggle against their obligation in a sense in this way, because they could have just avoided this entirely. But let's see here, and then embodied your eclipse or displayed the contents of your heart. Yeah, my character showed the contents of their heart quite thoroughly, especially to the enemy.
Excellent. Do you have like an ability in mind or an action? Dot. Oh, I think you're muted.
Oh, I am. Yeah. So yeah, I'll probably take either the beacon or this one's mine. I'm trying to figure out which one I want.
Okay.
Depends on how much time we have left before the mission and everything like that. So I'll play around with that for a moment, and I'll keep my EXP for a moment because I don't know if we might get a chance where I can potentially fill out my transcendence and be like a mixture of everybody in the last mission or not, depending on how next session goes.
All right. Who would like to go next?
I can go ahead and go next. Let's see, you addressed a challenge with understanding coordination, which I guess technically, especially towards the end, started going, it's like leaning more towards understanding with the project and everything. So I'd say that's 1 XP. Expressed your beliefs, drives, role, or it's like background. It's like, I would say, let's see. Yeah, especially, it's like, yeah, a little bit here and there, especially with like the moments with, it's like Oda, and then dealing with their obligation. Struggled with your issues from your promises or obligation. Yeah, definitely. Let's see. And then you embodied your eclipse or displayed the contents of your heart. It's like definitely, especially towards it's like during the mission it's like having to confront Oda, and then probably it's like embodied a little bit of their eclipse and snapping during that obligation.
Excellent. Who's next?
I think I can.
Okay.
Let me just see here. Okay. So, first thing is, did you address a challenge with kindness or self-sacrifice? Yes, when dealing with the Baroness. I'm not thinking of a second one.
Do we feel like the Baroness was particularly potent, like worth 2 XP because the Baroness was targeting Rose the whole time?
Absolutely. I feel like that was a pretty big moment in general.
Hmm.
And then in general, like I just kind of the lead up into that, yeah, as Danny was mentioning, I feel like it all just kind of combines into a pretty big moment there.
Cool. Okay. Express beliefs, drives, role, or backgrounds. I mean, there was definitely my role as Torch Maiden in the obligation phase. And I also expressed my beliefs about you have to fight for what you believe in, Baroness, during that bit. So I'm inclined to do 2 there. Struggled with issues from promises or obligation. 1 for sure when I told Polaris, "Get out of here, you idiot." That was a promise I'll stop at nothing to protect Polaris. And then struggled with issues from obligation. I feel like that happened during the obligation phase too. So that's 2 more, and then embodied your eclipse or displayed the contents of your heart. I don't know, like I feel like I did that like a couple times too. I'm normally pretty conservative with giving myself XP, but I feel like I did really well this session.
Oh yeah, no, you definitely displayed the contents of your heart and everything.
Okay. So this actually takes me past the maximum on my track. Can I just like spend and then take 2 more additionally?
Yeah, that's the goal. Yeah, spend
Okay.
it immediately.
Yeah,
Do
or
have
you do what I did, which is just give yourself a little extra few boxes so you don't lose track.
Sure.
do you
How
have
much do special abilities cost?
8.
Those are 8. Ooh. Okay, cool.
Yeah, they're pricey.
No, that's okay. I think I'm good then.
Okay. Do you have an ability or something in mind?
No, I'll look at it. I'm probably thinking special ability, but I might just put another dot into that's my World of Darkness background, calling them dots. Another check mark into my stats. I don't know.
Okay. Frida.
Okay, I addressed the challenge with individual action or aggression. I soloed 2 dryads. I'd be willing to call that 1.5 or 2. It was sort of an extended sequence, and I did initiate some other stuff on top of that. You expressed your beliefs, drives, role, or background. I think I would take at least 1 for that. Trying to sort of my extended relationship with my father and with Ian, and the conversation that I had with Adele over the project.
Well, and then I would say you definitely get 2 too, because also remember you also just basically defied your father in a way in your obligation.
That's fair. I was gonna. I can take that. I was gonna say 2 points for promises or obligation because of that. Because not only am I defying my father, I am choosing it as the harder way. I did it. I selected against something that would disengage from the fight because of my promises. So I guess that's 6 total. And then 1 point for displaying the contents of your heart. I feel like that ties into both the issue with my father and also with the conversation with Adele. I guess I get to afford a playbook ability anyway. Sweet.
Awesome. Do you have an ability in mind?
Yeah, I'm gonna take. I am going to take the Guardian special armor because I think it's a little bit more in character than my own special armor.
Matching veteran abilities.
Yes.
How does that work? Taking special armor?
Oh, did we literally? Yeah, you took it too. Funny.
Oh, I think I just had that. Or did I? What is it again?
Here for you.
Yeah.
Oh, that one. Oh, it's the special armor related ability.
Yeah, that threw me off too. I was like, what?
Oh, so it's called Here for You. Oh, okay. Oh, we all have Here for You, or at least
I stole it off your sheet.
a lot of us have it, I guess. 3 of us anyway have it at least on our sheets as an option.
So it's a veteran
Okay.
ability. They just they took the veteran ability option.
Oh, everyone's just like, well, it's a good ability, so okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Excellent. Okay, stars and wishes. Star for Frida going Nova and ending up vulnerable in the middle of the fight, right as Albright gains a whole bunch of narrative importance / power. That was awesome. Star for when Sarah became Polaris and facing off against Regalia in the sense of like, I'm just gonna hug you and you're gonna be better. Is great. Star for Violet for converting the Baroness. That was awesome. As well as Sushi and comedic obligation. That was great. That was very manga. It felt like it was awesome. And then star for Adele trying to, I don't want to say face off against Oda because it didn't feel like that, but I don't have the right words for what it was, but it felt very important. And I also really enjoyed the scene where we got to see Adele finally take down the mask and snap. That was really impactful for me. Wish, I'm just excited next time to see how we ramp up to what will probably be our final mission, and see where that takes us, and how we get there.
I would second all of Danny's stars. I was taking notes, and you've ticked off a whole bunch of them here. I would also highlight Alhana's near blue screen moment, as Fumi leaned into the game's first Eclipse roll. Even if we sort of like power. Even if we sort of power protected with the Eclipse roll, I think it was a very potent narrative beat. Danny, I also liked the cyberpunk water balloon. That was a sort of a fun image, and to sort of tie into that, David, your synchronized torch shuffle that ended with various people being on fire was a very nice narrative beat. And I don't know what to say, Clarice. I was bright-eyed and beaming at the beginning. It's like, oh, we're doing this now. We are turning this corner. That was a fun way to start the scenario.
Yeah, pretty much. It's like same as like checklist for me. I'd also like to add like I also enjoyed it's like the connection. It's like scene between Sarah and Violet, just having that sort of moment of like, it's like, oh, now that you've transcended, please learn to defend yourself. I'll help you learn to defend yourself. I always enjoy like the little sort of it's like sisterly connection between it's like Sarah and Violet, like including last session's little found family moment and everything. It's like I always enjoy those. And it's like, yeah, it's like enjoyed Sarah's it's like transcendent scene. It's like Belichick's it's like Belichick's defiant last stand and everything. And it's like the scene with it's like between it's like Vega basically sort of chastising and also forgiving the Baroness is like in the same stroke and everything. And it's like Danny's it's like directing of everything and just it's like rolling along with it's like everything and all the it's like poison promises we're taking.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think kind of same as what everyone else is saying. I feel like the series is really, for me at least, hitting its stride. Like even if I'm not 100% on all the rules exactly, I feel like the pacing is really good, and we're getting character development, and the action sequences are cool, and the downtime sequences are making sense to me, and they seem to fit with the narrative as opposed to being disconnected from it. It's sort of the classic problem where I'm like, sweet, I'm getting this right as we have about 2 sessions left. But it's really, really fun. I really thought that the timing, Clarice was solid on the Transcendence, good story beat to stick it in. Will, Fumi, the way you guys are doing your characters is awesome. I'm having a good time with it. I don't think I really have any wishes except, yeah, keep doing what we're doing.
And then let's see here. I mean, everybody's kind of touched on a lot of the stars I already had and everything. I mean, there was just a lot of big moments and everything that was really great. All I can say is huge stars to Danny in the sense of like creating this cluster of a moment. Can say was not expecting everything that kind of came at us in just that singular mission. It was amazing how much it escalated. Love also the Frida's father now with that poison promise taking on a more concerning role for us, which I feel like is also really great given their background and everything. So I feel like it's almost like, how dare you break from family tradition of in a sense. And then as far as wishes go, I mean, all I have for kind of wishes is just kind of like just keeping what we got going on right now. I love just the character development and everything that's happened and the interconnection of everybody's characters. And my own personal kind of mental wish is to just keep track of for my character is just combining the influences of everybody's characters, because that was the main feature of why she would even transcend, is the kind of the combination of the group. And I think the only other thing is my only other wish is seeing what happens now that we have our unfortunate victim for found out for the Fallout.
A wish. I don't remember whether it was Regalia or Oda who said that the abyss has basically all the pieces in place and that our defeat is inevitable. But I'm very curious to hear hear what's being alluded to there.
I think that was, I want to say that was Regalia that said that. I'd have to look at the recording again, but yeah, I second that one.
Woohoo! Excellent. Well, thank you all. I had a lot of fun, and I'm looking forward to next week.
Same here. Take care, everyone.
See you, everyone.
Good night, folks.